Hello and welcome to another Starcraft 2 commentary video. This is GomJabbar on Battle.net and Kengo on YouTube. And to this game, I'm going to be explaining a little bit of decision making related to scouting. And specifically, this is going to be a Protoss versus Terran matchup. My opponent is letsgohome, the Terran at the bottom left, who is in Diamond League, and considering I'm still in Platinum, I'm pretty happy that I managed to win this game. I'm sure I'll get promoted eventually. I just don't quite play enough games for the matchmaking system to promote me as fast as I'd like, but I'm playing at that level, I feel like. Anyway, so what I'm doing in this game is I'm going to be focusing on what In Control calls a reactive Protoss versus Terran. And what this basically means is that I react to scouting as much as I possibly can. I focus on an observer, probably two, and I really try to respond to what Terran does. Because if you play against Terrans, and even in PvT, but if you're not a Terran player and you play against them, they can do so much stuff in the opening. They have like 5 different really strong all-ins they can do off one base. They have, Banshees, they have Hellions, they have drops, Blue Flame, they have fast expands that they can hold pretty safely because of bunkers and wall-ins. It's just, when you're dealing with a Terran, you really need to scout them and know exactly what to see and what to look for. So, it's important to keep this probe alive. Here's what I'm seeing when I'm scouting my opponent. And actually, I'm going to keep the vision on myself here. I saw the gas. I was specifically looking for the gas. If there's no gas, I know he's doing either a Marine all-in off one base, a giant attack early, or if there's no gas, I know that he's going to do a fast expansion. So I'm going to keep a lookout for indicators of one of those so I can eliminate them. If he were going for no gas. He does have a gas. So since I saw the gas, what does that tell me? That tells me that he's not doing a Marine all-in or a fast expansion. He could still do a somewhat fast expansion, but it's not going to be the fastest. So with gas, and he has 2 SCVs out here, which is kind of weird. So I have to give up this tower temporarily. I really do want to keep this probe alive and scout with him. Anyway, what I was saying was, this is actually a bad rally point for my Nexus, but I saw the 1 gas. He could get another gas later. I didn't see a fast 2 gas, so it's probably not like a Banshee rush. But the 1 gas means at the very least he's going to get a tech lab on something, or a factory on something. So, I need to be able to poke up his ramp before the observer comes out. The basics of this build is going to be 2 gateways, a robo facility for a fast observer. 1 gateway into robo is also pretty good. What determines whether you go 1 or 2 gateway before the robo bay is just how much pressure you see early. And because I saw this gas, I figured a stim and concussive shield marauder push was going to be pretty likely. And here's what I see as I poke up his ramp. I see a marauder. Not a lot of Marines, but a marauder. And this is kind of early, but the 1 marauder indicates to me that I need to worry at least a little bit about stim and concussive shell marauders doing an early attack. I don't know yet if he is doing a 1 basing strategy, as in an all-in attack. If he's doing that, I need to stay on 1 base and defend. It's also possible he only has 1 barracks with a tech lab, and he's going to be building an expansion. If that's the case, I want to be able to see that quickly enough that I can throw down my own expansion and not fall behind. So I'm going to resume the game. And I have 2 gateways with the robo, and I'd elect to throw down this 3rd gateway pretty much because I'm a little bit worried about the all-in. And my minerals were getting pretty high. That was the other thing. Now, that's probably because I just was not building pylons and I've gotten supply blocked, but, you know, that's what you get. So as of right now, I'm expecting at the very least, a Marauder Marine attack with stim and or concussive shells. And in any event, look at how little map presence I have. I don't have any of the watchtowers. I don't have a probe here. So I've got to send one out. If you look at the units tab, I have 29 probes to his 24 SCVs. I actually need to make use of those probes early, the probe advantage that I have in numbers, thanks to my chrono boost. Chrono boosting probes, pretty important. A lot of people will just chrono boost warp gate every time because they're kind of in the habit of it, but you don't need to do that. And he did actually poke with his Marines and Marauders, and I got 2 force fields. That's not ideal. I want 1. But what are you going to do? Better than getting him up the ramp and killing me. So, finally, I do have this probe down here. I see no expansion. He could be building it in his base, or he could not be expanding. Now I see a tank and another Marauder. This tank, again, tells me he is still on 1 base. He's got a factory making tanks off 1 base. This is not a fast expansion. Now, let's see what I see. Another barracks with a tech lab, more Marauders. Factory with tech lab. And I see a starport. No command center. Again, no expansion. I see no command center in his base. Actually, I'm sorry, there's this command center up there. In any case, I still see 2 barracks with tech lab, a factory with tech lab, and a starport coming up. But yes, there's the expansion. So, right now I have a good 1 base defense, but since he is building that expansion, I'm going to need to expand myself very quickly. Look how up I am in food, actually. 62 to 49. Army tab. I'm way, way ahead in the Army tab. And that's because of this command center. Because he decided to spend 400 minerals on this command center, I'm safe right now. I've got the Army advantage. And that's because I'm sticking on 1 base. I've got 3 gates and a robo, which is as much as I can possibly support on 1 base. So what I have to do, unfortunately, is cut production for a second and accumulate enough minerals that I can expand. And I see another barracks going down. So, you know, while he does have an expansion coming up, this is still a lot of buildings. And I'm sort of have to conclude that either his macro is not so good and he needs extra buildings, or he is preparing for a big attack, a timing attack. But in any case, I know that it's now safe for me to expand because he has his own command center and I'm not behind. If you expand before the Terran starts to, and he elects to do an all-in off 1 base, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. You have to cancel the Nexus at best, and then you're just behind, and you have to force field, and he can contain you. It's not a fun situation to be in. So instead, I am getting the robotics back. After the 3 gateways, you pretty much rush to Colossus. And note, I had an SCV down here. Let me rewind it first, or a probe. Just hidden down here so I would know the instant this expansion went down. And he, is going to see this. But that's fine. I probably could have run away at this point, saved the probe, but it's whatever. In any case, I'm not terribly far behind at this point. Look at the income tab. Since I am ahead on harvesters, thanks to chrono boosting, I'm actually not bad at all. Yes, Terran has mules, and that's incredibly imbalanced, but even so, I'm not worried so much about extra minerals for the Terran. It only gives him extra Marines, and if I get Colossus, then that's not a big deal. So yeah, one base Colossus, pretty bad. Colossus after expansion, pretty good. And I'm going to go for these 3 gateways and the Colossus pretty fast. That's my basic outlook. And now I'm using my observer to look at where his army's going, what his army is made up of. Since I already saw his expansion, I saw his buildings. And I saw him going this way. This is a kind of weird direction. If he were going to be pushing my front, he'd be going through the center. He'd go to hit these watchtowers here. And he's not. He's going to the left. So, what that's going to indicate to me, and my observer actually loses sight of him and stops in a second, but if he's going this way, then he's, either going to these rocks to break them down, or he's going back here to the tasteless secret hallway. And I'm going to notice that in a second and move over here to intercept. Meanwhile, on my base, I am going to be making a Colossus any second now. There it goes, right there. Now, I have an expansion up. I'm starting to make Colossus. I have a good army that was actually an advantageous one. And now I'm going to go ahead and put this probe down, or this pylon down to spot his attack. And there it is. I did not actually cancel that, so that's unfortunate. And he's going to lose that tank. And he's going for a Raven. Also, by the way, check out the worst force field placement you have ever seen. Yeah, I'll keep myself as far away from his tanks as possible, so my immortals can't actually hit anything in this tiny little hallway. That's brilliant. So, if we look back here, I did scout this tech lab on the starport. That can mean one of 2 things: Banshees or Ravens. I felt safe against Banshees. I've got the Robo Bay. If he was going Cloak, I could, get an Observer and I'd be pretty fine. I've got enough Stalkers to deal with that. This is a very late Banshee. If he's going Ravens, he needs those to deal with Stalkers. He's getting the Raven for point defense drone, which stops Stalker shots. And against Terran, I don't actually want that many Stalkers anyway, so it's not a huge deal. I focus more on the Zealots and Immortals. So, I don't know, I don't really like this choice of Raven unless it's for a big early timing push with mostly Marines. But if he has this many Marauders, it's like he's double defending against these Stalkers. He has enough to take out all of it. So let's look at how this battle unfolds thanks to my awful force field placement. Now I try and do a little more, but it's kind of too late at this point. So yeah, this is actually a terrible attack. And I'm going to have to retreat here, because that was just awful. But it's not actually a big deal. My macro's been doing fine. I've got my Colossus just about out. And, I'm feeling pretty comfortable. Like, what's he going to do from back here? The best thing he can do is a slow tank push through this grass, and I'll have Colossi by that time. Now, my thermal lance is actually very late in this game, which is unfortunate. But if we go back to what I can see, I can just see him making stuff out of these buildings. I'll have to move my observer in a second to check out what he's doing. And yeah, I'm just going to defend here. I think it's a better idea for me to wait for him to get out here so I can have a nice concave and attack him. There's my thermal lance finally going down. And making more gateways. I don't want to overcommit to the Colossus because eventually he'll have Vikings, and that's not something if he wipes out all my Colossus with like 20 Vikings, and I'm going like 3 Robo Colossus off 2 or 3 bases, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble because I've committed so much into those Colossi. My ground army is so weak. So 1 Robo Colossus probably sufficient. And now I'm getting a Stargate. Again, this is, now I'm going to check back here. He doesn't have anything. He pulled back. And my observer actually sees another command center. That's going to be important in a second. So I'm getting a Twilight Council, getting a Forge. I've just, at this point, said to myself, oh, upgrades. That's important, right? Anyway, what's the purpose of this Stargate? Why would I get that at this point? The reason I'm getting that is for Phoenixes to deal with the Vikings. He just now knows that I got Colossus. I pretty much just started getting Colossus. And so his Vikings are not going to be out yet, unless he's being very proactive with them. Also, Colossus are surprisingly good against tanks. This is something I am only recently becoming aware of. I would, see a bunch of tanks and start going Immortals, but actually Colossus have such good range that it doesn't matter. And yeah, I have enough Stalkers to deal with. It's 2 Vikings. He's only just started Viking production because I'm attacking right when I see him trying to expand. This is 400 minerals that he has going into this giant flying paperweight right now. That's 400 minerals that I have invested in an army. Actually, I don't because I'm way ahead on minerals because my macro's sucking right now. But I'll go and warp stuff in a second. And I've got to focus down this Viking, and I'll be totally fine. So yeah, the point is, right when I start getting Colossus, that's when I want to start getting Phoenixes, so I can keep up with his Viking production with Phoenixes. And he's getting Hellions. I don't even know why he did that. Against Protoss, unless you're doing like a Blue Flame Hellion drop, maybe if he's going Zealot Templars, it's decent. But in any case, now I've got this this Phoenix. I'm going to give more. Phoenix is built so quickly after that patch. Oh my god. So even if he's making Vikings. Let's check his vision. Yeah, he's got 2 port Vikings. More than usually, that's going to be 1 with a reactor. In any case, you can only make 2 at a time, and I can build Phoenixes just as quickly, and they'll absorb hits from the Vikings. They'll keep my Colossus alive much longer, allowing me to destroy the ground forces. That Colossus has 23 kills, by the way. That's a baller Colossus. And at this point, yeah, my point is to get sort of a standard gateway ground army. I do want charge for those zealots, and it's almost finished. Getting my armor first, because I like focusing on zealots, and with armor they become unbelievably good. So I want fewer stalkers. And the Phoenixes allow me to kind of skip the stalkers. Usually you need these to deal with Vikings, but if I have Phoenixes to deal with Vikings, I can focus a lot of my gas on these. Well, a lot of my gas is going to go in the Colossi and the Phoenixes, and I can get a lot more Zealots, and I like Zealots against Terran. So what was I saying? Yes, so Colossus, Gateway Army, mostly Zealots with charge, and Phoenixes. Great composition that I want to sort of rush to off 2 base. That's my goal, and once I get there, I'm extremely safe. Like, Terran has to really macro well to beat me with that if he's going bio. I don't know about mech yet. Mech's pretty cool. But, ignoring that. This is a weird place for this Colossus. Okay. Another decision that I made that I'll explain is my decision to get a 3rd base. My decision is based on I just killed his natural. He's on 1 base. He's basically going to be mined out soon. So I'm just going to expand and play it safe. If I try and rush up there to kill him, he has some tanks. He can maybe he put up bunkers. I don't know. So I'm going to actually do that anyway. But the point being, if I would much rather just expand, make sure my economy is going to be 3 base to 1. That's massive, massive lead. And then I'll, try and kill him. Another thing to note is that sometimes when I do something like this, I kill off his natural, he's contained on 1 base, and I go back to expand, I'm going to say, I'm not going to kill him, I'm going to play it safe, when, if I had rushed up the ramp immediately, I could have won the game. So what I do now is kind of a safe hybrid of the two. You don't want to just say, I killed his army, I killed his natural, I'm going to fall back to the watchtower or something. I'm done. I'll kill him in 20 minutes. No, you don't need to do that. What I'm going to do is, especially with these Phoenix looking at the high ground, but even without that, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to poke up his ramp, sure. Definitely going to poke up his ramp. Maybe against Protoss, if he has force fields, you might be in some amount of trouble. But against Terran, it's not, and especially Zerg, it's not that big a deal to just say, I'm going to poke up the ramp. If I don't like what I see, I'm going to retreat, and I'm still going to have this expo, and his army isn't going to be that big. And if he counterattacks, I should be okay because of my defender advantage. But, you know, if I can win the game now, I want to do it. So that's my reasoning for this decision. And again, Colossus against tanks, oh my god, dude, that's awesome. And I'm going to rush up here. Charge Zealots doing a good amount of damage. So do Colossi. And that's going to be the end of the game. And I'm actually going to pick up a mule. Because, yeah, hate mules. Anyway. So let's go over my decision making again. Adaptive, responsive Protoss versus Terran. I scout early game. If he has early gas, he's getting tech labs. He's teching at least a little. He likely is, you know, doing some kind of Marauder expand. Possibly he's going for Banshees or two gas factories off one base, which he kind of did. So, you know, if he's doing a one base kind of tech build, that's kind of tough. If he's going straight up tech Banshee and then expand, you want to just throw down your expansion anyway. But, you know, if he, in this game I played it safe, put down 3 gateways and a robo for those observers. The observers are the key to this game, as well as the scouting probe to check what he's doing. I saw the Marauders. I wanted to play it safe. Let's move on. Once I have that expansion, my goal is definitely to expand unless I see a huge one base only attack that's like all in and he isn't going to expand. Unless I see that, I want to expand reasonably fast, because one base Protoss against one base Terran is, one base Protoss in general is kind of weak against Terran. Gateway units that aren't upgraded with no Colossus backing them up pretty much die to Marauders. So once I do have this expansion up, I can feel free to tech, and I kind of rush up to Colossus once the base is up. I've got 4 gas running. And then I'm going to be getting Phoenixes to deal with Vikings. I want my upgrades. A lot of pros are actually doing a double forge kind of style, which is pretty cool. Getting fast charge and blink. That's all great. The point is to tech up off 2 base. And then I scouted his attack over here in the tasteless secret hallway. I did not force field well enough to respond to it, but, you know, he pulled back and it wasn't a big deal. And finally, I saw him throw down a 3rd command center, which signaled for me an attack timing. That command center put him behind. I'm going to attack with a bigger army at this point. I've got Colossus that just came out, and he just found out about it. He won't be able to respond very well, very quickly. I should be able to win. This is my thought process for those decisions to attack. And once I'd killed off his natural expansion, I threw down my own 3rd, which is just finishing as the game ends. I mean, look at this situation. He has 1 base. I've got almost 3 now. If he actually like crushed this attack right up here, if he had like 5 bunkers and siege tanks everywhere, not a big deal. I fall back to expand. He has all those bunkers and siege tanks. He's not attacking me anytime soon. I mean, I've got this expansion up. My economy is so much better than his that I can just win later. So of course, even though I did expand, I want to make sure that I can't win right now. So I'm going to poke up the ramp and try. If he wipes out all my stalkers in like one tank shot, I'm going to fall back and cut my losses. But if I can win, I do want to win. So that is what happened, in fact. And just a note for all you Terrans out there, if you want to go like a little bit of mech with these factories, starports, don't like half-ass the mech. I've found in my personal experience as a Protoss against Terran, I have absolutely no trouble against a Terran who goes for bio/mech style. It's the pure mech mass stalker banshee play. That's the really tricky stuff. That's the stuff Protoss is having trouble dealing with right now. So if you're playing Terran and you're watching this, saying, "Well, what could he have done?" Colossus is so good against tanks. He had immortals. What can you do with mech? Well, go pure mech, and it's pretty formidable. If you do like a slow tank push with a lot of support, then that's very strong. And I would just say go back and look at Brood War if you want to see how that sort of play should be done. Harass with Hellions like a lot, drop with Hellions all the time, Banshee harass, while you're doing that mech push up the center with your immobile units. And also, of course, look at that Jinro versus OGSMC game in the GSL from season, 3? No, it was season 4. Where mech beat Protoss. In any case, I actually do also favor a bio opening into a mech later. That seems very good. Pain User does that. It works for him very well. Mech early, I would say no. I think mech is only good at critical mass. I mean, again, unless you're going pure mech and you want to slow push and play defensive turtley Terran style. And that's fine too. And if you're going mech, definitely get a lot of Vikings to deal with carriers, because carriers are awesome against mech. But I've been rambling a lot, so I'm going to cut this off, and hopefully I've illuminated some decision making and scouting for you guys, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.